As a mom with a lot of kids and a lot of little kids, I know that my kids are going to touch everything. And so us as hosts have the responsibility to think a little bit ahead. We got to be smarter than a 2-year-old. And so I have certain rules that I use when I'm decorating. So the first one, it's really simple. It's the waist down rule. Nothing that's movable or breakable that's below the waist level. It sounds like a really simple thing. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't do decor and all of that kind of stuff, but we do it in ways that if kids are touching it, they're not breaking anything. And I have to tell you, as a parent, when your child breaks something in a vacation rental, there are few things that feel worse than that. And so it's my job as the host to set my guests up for success so that they don't experience that level of anxiety.
My name is Rodman Schley. As a real estate expert, I've invested millions of dollars in vacation properties all around the world, and I've been involved in the valuation of billions of dollars of properties. I want to share my 35 years of experience along with vacation home investment tips from the top minds in the short-term vacation rental industry. Now, let's do the work. Welcome to the Vacation Property Secrets Podcast. I'm your host, Rodman Schley, and today I'm excited to welcome to the show Rose Tipka, vacation rental expert, best-selling author, and founder of Your Family's Place, a vacation rental company nestled in Ohio's Amish country, focused on multi-generational, pet-friendly, large homes. Rose is also a homeschooling mom of 6 and shares her insights through her website and Instagram channel, Hosting in the Motherhood. Rose, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on.
I am really excited to have you here today. I want to talk a lot about family vacation and the importance of that when it comes to your vacation home. How can we get people to be coming back to our vacation homes over and over again because they've had such a good experience? So maybe you can tell the viewers a little bit about your background.
Yes, absolutely. So my company is called Your Family's Place. And that is kind of playing on that riff of we all have a place that our family goes on vacation. And really, I want to be your family's go-to place for vacation. And so I have a lot of kids myself. I have 6 kids. I am in the thick of parenting still. My oldest is 15. My youngest is 3. I know how hard family vacation can be for the adults. And so that really is the cornerstone of our brand, Your Family's Place, is really mastering the family vacation so everybody has fun, the kids and the adults. I use my magic mom sense, I call it, to make sure that our homes are luxurious for the adults, accessible for grandma and grandpa, but also full of fun for the kids, but also no knicky-knackies, no breaking things for the ones that are little and are going to touch everything. So there's a lot of things that really go into making a home a place that an entire family can gather and enjoy vacation.
So many people, so many families love to go to the Airbnbs or the Verbos because they've got space, they've got room, they got a house. But there's more to it than just the house. It's about the experience and what you can create for these families. What are some things people can do to their properties that are going to be inviting for families? They're going to give them that experience that you're talking about.
Absolutely. So as a mom with a lot of kids and a lot of little kids, I know that my kids are going to touch everything. And so us as hosts have the responsibility to think a little bit ahead. We got to be smarter than a 2-year-old. And so I have certain rules that I use when I'm decorating. So the first one, it's really simple. It's the waist down rule. Nothing that's movable or breakable that's below the waist level. It sounds like a really simple thing. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't do decor and all of that kind of stuff, but we do it in ways that if kids are touching it, they're not breaking anything. And I have to tell you, as a parent, when your child breaks something in a vacation rental, there are few things that feel worse than that. And so it's my job as the host to set my guests up for success so that they don't experience that level of anxiety. So the waist down rule is a big one that we follow for everything. Come fall, we'll have pumpkins, but they'll all be fabric pumpkins. So the kids can touch them, they can throw them. It's not going to break anything. One of the other things that happens when you are on vacation, let's just say somebody's going to throw up. Okay. If you travel with kids, they're going to throw up. And so it's our job as guests, as hosts, to think ahead. And this comes down to the basics of hosting. Are your beds and your pillows waterproofed. Now,
Mm.
this should be industry standard. But unfortunately, it's not. You need to be having full waterproof mattress encasements and then a second waterproof cover on top. And then you better believe that you have an extra set of that up in the closet, because if you're traveling with kids, there might be accidents, and we as hosts need to set up our properties so that our guests can manage that. And obviously, you need a washer and dryer. Provide the laundry detergent. Don't be a cheapskate. The other thing that we try to do is provide lots of different activities within the homes. We have video games, we have arcades, we have foosball, air hockey, ping pong. That's the kind of stuff that we have inside. I just picked up what are called pickler triangles, which is a climbing structure that's meant for little toddlers. It's those kids that are like 4 and under that are the hardest to travel with. So we have the pickler triangles, we have light tables, we have busy boards that are on the wall for the kids that want to touch everything. So it's thinking ahead. Who are the hardest people to accommodate? It's usually those younger kids. How do we get things in the property that are going to entertain them, keep them having fun? Because if the kids are happy, the grown-ups are going to be happy.
That's one of those things too with the properties that I have. One of the first questions people ask, especially when families are coming in, do you have child gates? Do you have cribs? Do you have pack and plays? Do you have, just what do you have to accommodate the kids? And if you want to bring in those families into your property, you best have those in place, because if you don't, they're going to go to the next property or to the next property. So I could see where that would be a real benefit in terms of getting families into your units, but not only the first time, like we were talking about earlier, the next time and the next time and the next time, because they know that you're going to be accommodating, that you are going to be equipped to handle their whole family.
Absolutely. And we know that once a family finds a place that they have fun, they feel comfortable, they feel welcomed, they start to feel like it's their place, and they come back year after year. And those are the folks that are already booking 12 months out. And then if you're doing that good job as a host, that's your opportunity to really get into, let's say, your pricing software. If people are booking 12 months out and they have the pick of the calendar, there's value associated with that.
Mm.
So at that 12 months point, all of my rates and my pricing system are 30% more. Now, here's a little trick that I do for our guests. If they are repeat guests and I want them to come back, I offer them a 10% discount. That sounds great, doesn't it? But I've already pumped that rate 30%, so I'm still 20% ahead on that. So when
Yeah.
you have a great guest, you can kind of woo them back with that 10% repeat discount. But if you have set up your pricing software appropriately, you're still going to be ahead.
Yeah, 100%. And it's so important. You hit on a good point. You want people to be thinking out to the next year and to the next year. I've got people, we've got a property down in Costa Rica that's got these beautiful 6 villas on it. And we get so much repeat because people
Mhm.
know what they're going to get. They love what they're going to get. And they're going to book at times when they're checking out, they're booking for the next year, which is an amazing place to be on your booking calendar.
Absolutely. And there's all this talk about calendars drying up and all of that kind of stuff. And certainly that is happening. And I think part of that deficit that we have as hosts is that we're just not doing a good job. When you
Mhm.
do a good job, those folks want to come back, and they'll pay that premium to make sure that they have a great vacation. I know as a mom, I will spend a lot of money to be sure that my family is having a great vacation. So this comes down to a relationship of competency for us as hosts, but also relationship building. We are building hospitality businesses, and the foundation of hospitality is building those relationships with your ideal guests so that they want to stay with you, they want to come back year after year, and they're going to pay a premium to do that.
Yeah, and that's all about creating that experience, creating the right experience and one that they want to have over and over again. And, I've got my places that I love to go, not just to the properties that we own, but other places. And I'll go back to the same house or the same, whatever it might be, because I loved what I had when I went there. And a lot of people don't think about the experience. They go, okay, listen, I'm going to bring in a tenant and they're going to be here and they're going to be gone. But they're not thinking about that repeat or having them come back again. Too many people think about it as a one-time thing. And when you don't provide the experience for the person, that's exactly what you're going to get, is that
Mhm.
one-time visitor.
Absolutely. And I think that there's a whole journey that our customers are going on. And that journey actually doesn't begin when they walk in the door. That journey begins way, way, way back, even before they book, when they're looking at your website, when they're looking at your copy, your pictures, all of that kind of stuff. One of the most important touch points that we are missing as hosts is that first thing that happens after our guests hit book now. So a lot of our guests are high value guests. They are going to part with a lot of money to stay with us. And one of the first things that we feel when we make a large purchase is buyer's remorse. Did they make the right choice? Did they pick the right home? So as soon as that new reservation is coming in, I'm seeing it come through on my PMS. And the first thing I'm doing is I'm grabbing my phone and I'm recording a video of myself telling that guest, thank you for choosing whatever property they chose. And then I use a magic phrase. You can relax and know that I'm going to take excellent care of your family. So I've told them that they made a right choice. Everybody likes to know that they made a right choice, right? And I've told them that I'm going to take care of them. And so at that touch point, right at the beginning, whether they booked out a week, 6 months, a year, I have told them you made the right choice and I'm going to take care of you. That's when the customer journey starts. It doesn't start when they come in the door. And we have all these touch points along the way to build that relationship, to build the trust, to build the rapport. It also doesn't end when they leave. When they leave, hopefully they had a great vacation, but how do I sustain that relationship? How do I continue to build it to show that we are always growing and adding new things so that they do come back?
Rose, it's funny you talk about this, and it's a science. I mean, it's all a science. It's a business. I mean, it's getting up every day and running your business, running it right. But you're talking about these calendars that are drying up, people's calendars. So you had this entire influx of people who thought, I can just buy a vacation home. Everybody's going to rent it, no problem. I'm going to cover my mortgage. I'm going to cover all my expenses. I'm going to make money. It's going to be great. But they don't understand the science behind it. They don't understand all these different fundamentals that you got to put into place if you're going to be successful. And of course, your calendar is going to drive up if you're not putting these fundamentals in place to make sure that you have people coming. So you are building a business. They look at it more as a hobby, or this is my vacation home that I'm going to rent sometime. But if people truly think about the science behind it, think about what do I need to do to be successful in what I'm doing, their calendars wouldn't be drying up.
Absolutely. I totally agree with you. And I think what we see are a couple of different things. There's always going to be the budget travelers. There's always going to be people that are going to be making decisions based on what's most cost effective. There are always going to be people at the high end who are going to be booking these high end properties. This mediocre middle, you can't be mediocre anymore. It's not going to happen. There's too much in there. And so I don't necessarily see I don't really think that we're seeing the end of Airbnb. Hopefully we're seeing the end of bad hosting because the standards are too high. Our guests are too savvy. There's too much product on the market for you to be mediocre. People have forgotten the basics. This is a hospitality business. You have to educate yourself. You have to actually work at it. You have to give yourself the time to get good at it. And it can be really overwhelming, all the different sources of knowledge and education and masterminds and all of that kind of stuff. And people can get really stuck in the weeds. You have to get good at the actual job of hosting people. That takes time. It takes education. It takes the reps. You got to get people in the door. You got to get the experience, because experienced hosts, we can smell problems a mile away and a month out. And so that's the kind of thing where people have just missed that. They're stuck in the data. They're stuck in the glamour of it. They're stuck in all of that, but they're not digging in and doing the actual work of getting good at hosting.
100%, and amen to all that, because so many people go in and they buy these things on emotion too. It's not a business purchasing decision. They don't look at the analytics. They don't look at the financials. They don't understand the cash flows. They literally just go and go, I love this area. We're going to buy a vacation home and we're going to make so much money. But they have no idea about all these other steps along the way. And like you said, there are so many mediocres, right? And when we go into a market, we're always looking at a market going, okay, what's the market doing? What are the averages? What are the statistics? But then how can we outperform? How can we not be like those people with the calendars drying up and be the people who are excelling? The property that I have down in Costa Rica is a great example of that. Right now, a lot of VRBO or Verbo owners are struggling and their calendars are drying up. Ours is not. Ours is 100% full. And people are asking me, well, how are you 100% full so much of the time? And it's about those fundamentals that you're talking about. It's about the experiences you're talking about. It's about not just what happened this last year, but all the work that we've been doing the years before to be really, really good and making sure that we're full.
Yeah, and I think there was this golden age of vacation rentals that a lot of us have been through. There are many of us who started before. We started before the golden age. But the problem is people who entered during the golden age, they thought that was what it was. And while times were good, they enjoyed it. But unfortunately, you have to make hay while the sun shines. And so, why are we doing well right now? Because 4 years ago, we started investing in an excellent website, building our customer relations and our hospitality experience. 4 years ago, we started working on SEO, we started working on Google Ads and all of that kind of stuff. It's really hard for somebody in 2024 to get started and look at a company that's been going on for 7 or 8 years. How did you get there? It's called 7 or 8 years of work. And a lot of folks, they enjoyed it. And don't get me wrong, it was amazing. But when times are good, you can't get stuck in that mentality. That's when you have to use that extra revenue to push your company to the next level, not to stay the same, but to push your education, your resources, all of that kind of stuff, because the good times never last forever. You got to make hay while the sun shines. And for some people, there's a lot of rain and they don't
Yeah,
have anything in the barn.
exactly. Yeah, I always tell that to everybody. I always say, we know when it's raining, get your rain buckets out because there's going to be a drought sometime. And you
Mhm.
got to make sure that you are ready for everything. Be prepared. Hey, everybody. I hope you're enjoying this episode of the Vacation Property Seekers podcast. I want to let you know about one question that I get all the time. And that's, how do I forecast my cash flow and my profitability when investing in a vacation home? Now, if you've ever wondered that or you know somebody who has, you're in the right place. We've created a free training called Financial Forecasting for Maximum Vacation Home Profitability. Now, in this training, we're going to guide you step by step on how to accurately project rental income, estimate your operating expenses, and calculate your returns so you can make informed investment decisions. You can access the free training at vacationpropertysecrets.com. So if you're ready to dive deeper into financial fundamentals and maximize your profitability, visit vacationpropertysecrets.com. I'm going to just say this right now, Rose. Just talking to you, and you're so analytical, and you're so uh, you look at this the right way. You take the right steps. You're doing the right things. And again, that comes from a bunch of experience, right? Like you've been doing this for a while, so you understand the processes and the analytics. But there's always those people who are out there who are starting today. Like
Yes.
they're just getting going and they think that this is going to be an easy road. Well, I'll just buy a place, I'll put it up for rent, we're going to be renting the heck out of it. And they think that's it. But
Yeah.
there's so much more to it. What
Yes.
about
And
those
I
folks? What
totally
should they
agree.
do? Where should they start?
Absolutely. So the first thing that they need to do is they need to hop on Instagram or they need to go on my website, Hosting in the Motherhood. And that's where I share a lot of hosting content. One of the projects that I'm working right now is breaking the experience of becoming a host and maturing into an excellent host into all of these different steps. And I think where a lot of people get constipated in their growth is they don't know what to do first. What do I implement and in what order? Okay. So let's say you're finding the right property. You know, how do I do that? All of that kind of stuff. And there is so much coaching and knowledge out there that will take hosts from wanting to get started to purchasing their first property. The problem is then there's a giant cliff. And a
Mm,
lot of the education that's out there stops at that point. The problem is none of that data, none of that analytics means anything if you're not getting people in the door. So I have a series called Unhobby Your Hosting, where I'm focusing on the little steps that you need to take in the right order to build a long-term sustainable hospitality business. I'm taking you through what order I implement tech and why I do it, the different vendors that I'm using, and all of that kind of stuff. You have people that are starting out and they are maybe have one property and they're thinking, oh, I need to have 10,000 Instagram followers. Yeah, but you don't even have dynamic pricing yet.
yeah.
You know, I need to do all of these high level collaborations. Are you using smart locks?
Mm,
And so, one of the things that I'm doing is I'm really trying to break it down into the order in which I do things. And again, these things take time to pan out. I've had that conversation with so many hosts about how, yes, you need to do this, and then you need to give it time to pan out.
Mm. Well,
And
and yeah,
the individual jobs are not hard. It's the consistency that is difficult.
yeah, and you got to get educated too. I mean, the thing about it is so many people just want to start a business, but they're not willing to, or they haven't thought about what's next in the education and on that journey. And I always tell people, I mean, people might look at a piece of education and go, well, that's expensive. And I go, no, not doing the education, not going through the steps. That's what's expensive.
Mhm.
You can make money in the buy. You always make money in the buy. And then when you get into that process, so really be good at your buying, understand the analytics that lead up to what you're buying behind it. But then when you get in there and you're ready to shift into, now I've got the property, what's next? Be
Mhm.
willing to spend that money to get that education, to maybe take 5 years off your learning curve, 3 years
Yeah,
off your learning curve, whatever it might be. If it's, I tell people, they're like, well, it's a couple $1,000s. Well, a couple $1,000s is nothing in what
yeah.
you're going to learn and how quickly you're going to advance and how much more money you're going to make. You got to take that and put it into perspective and go, just bite the bullet, get in there, really get good at what you're doing, and it's going to make the difference of thousands of dollars.
Absolutely. I know that there's a lot of discussion within the industry about setting up your own book direct website, and
Mm.
how when you have your own book direct website, you really have control of your business. You're not relying on the OTAs and stuff like that. But the truth is, if you're not booking on the OTAs, why would you book on a book direct website?
Mm. Yeah.
You got to put in the reps. You got to put in the reps on the OTA, and that's a great, just like it's a good clearinghouse for you to get good at what you're doing, to refine your brand, to refine your systems. Setting up a book direct website and a brand is expensive and takes time. And so, I have folks with they have one house. I need to get a book direct website up. Yeah, you probably do. But if you're not booking on the OTAs, you don't have this nut cracked yet.
Yeah.
Crack the nut, and then that's when you need to move to that next level. And there is so much that goes into running the hospitality side of the business. We cannot skimp on that. Marriott does not skip on hospitality. Hilton does not skip on that kind of stuff. They know that they are in the business of taking care of people. And so we as an industry, we can't skip on those things either. We can learn that lesson from the hotel industry. Consistency and hospitality is what they do. And so we have to, if we're going to really take on hotels, we have to do that too.
Yeah, 100%. I think a lot too about like your Airbnbs and such. When you think about that, the listings, the way they are now, those analytics are just as important. Hospitality is just important because if you're not hitting a superhost status, or you're not hitting their algorithms, or you're not getting enough reviews, you're going to suffer on those platforms too. They're set up well now where they're taking and rewarding the best hosts. They're rewarding with volume, they're rewarding with views by people. And so if you think you're just going to go into that platform and you don't have to do much, you're wrong there too. You have to have the highest level of hospitality on all levels.
Absolutely. And you have to learn how to do it.
Hmm.
And if you want to hack away at it for a couple of years, you're welcome to do that. But there's education out there to help bring down that learning curve. And you can take advantage of that. So you don't have to spend a couple of years trial and erroring everything. You can learn from other people who are excellent at what they do and are out there trying to share their knowledge with other hosts.
100%. I couldn't agree more. And it's one of those things where, the worst thing that you can do is give somebody a bad experience.
Mhm.
Because you could have 10 really good experiences and then somehow you're off, or you're not giving people the best experience that they can have. And that one bad experience is going to hurt you. It's going to overcome those 10 good experiences that people had.
Absolutely. And I know when I travel, I've been able to travel a lot in the last couple of years, which is amazing. I have had, on the whole, really terrible experiences staying
Mm.
in vacation rentals. Just unimaginable things. I showed up in Australia and the property host said, oh, well, I couldn't find a cleaner, so I'm going to cancel your reservation. I just flew for 24 hours.
Uh-huh.
I am in Australia, and now you're telling me I don't have a place to stay? No, you can't do that. I've had experiences where I've showed up and the system for getting the key to enter the apartment was going to the Quick Mart down the
Oh,
street
geez.
and giving the person at the cash register a code, which I didn't have, for him to give me a lockbox to get the key to enter the building. No, 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 no. No, no, no. We can't be doing that. And so sometimes when I travel, I do stay in hotels because
Mm,
they have this worked out. So,
yeah.
and it's the irony there that I do vacation rentals. I host people all the time, and I have consistently poor experiences when I pick places. Imagine how hard it is for somebody who is not a vacation rental expert.
Yeah, and I think those types of people unfortunately hurt us all, right? The people who
Yes,
are out there doing it wrong. Then they go, "Well, is this what it's like to go stay at an Airbnb where I'm going to have another bad experience?" So we owe it to everybody in our community to make sure that we are lifting each other up and we are providing good hospitality because you're not just hurting yourself, you're hurting everybody else when you're not providing this. Just like that hotel brand. If you go to a hotel brand and they're not giving you good hospitality or you're not giving you a good experience, then you're probably not going to go to anybody in that brand because
absolutely.
you don't get the experience that you expect.
Yeah, and when we get guests that can be a little sometimes our guests can be antagonistic. There's a shocker. Did they have a really bad experience? Did they have a host that was just, too much, who was overreacting to things? I think I see a lot of guests come in that are almost they're used to that antagonistic relationship between the host and them. That's not how hospitality is supposed to be. Hilton is not going to come in and antagonize you when you're staying at one of their hotels. And so I feel bad for those people that they've had a bad experience, but I'm here to show them what a good experience feels like. And to them, it makes a world of difference.
What are a few of the things that you do personally to give people that 5-star experience, to give them that experience where they are going to go out and they're going to leave your property and they're going to leave a 5-star review for you?
Absolutely. So I talked earlier about how I try to hit that touch point at the point of booking and sending them a video about, that they made a great choice and I'm going to take care of them. In the lead up to the reservation, there can be a lot of anxiety for guests. Did I make the right decision? All of that kind of stuff. So about a month out, that's when people start thinking about their vacation. So I have a tailored email that goes out with a survey to the guests, and it has topics there that are frequently asked questions. So I'll ask them, would you like a list of the grocery stores? I get that question a lot. So I'll ask them. I know I get that question a lot. Hey, would you like a list of family friendly activities in the area? I'll send that to you. Hey, are you going to go out to dinner? How about I send you a list of my favorite restaurants? That also gives me an opportunity to ask them questions about where they found us and all of that kind of stuff. So when they fill out that survey and respond, it allows me to send information that I know is important to them because I get this question all the time. One of the other things that I have in there is I ask them if they have a property specific question. And
Mm,
if they indicate that they do, I'm going to pick up the phone and call them. And I know
mm.
that's a little old school for some people, but having a conversation on the phone can really help build that relationship. And so they may have a simple question like, do you have trash bags? It's specific or something like that, like how's the parking? And so it gives me an opportunity to have a conversation and build that relationship. The other time that I call them is actually the night before check-in. So imagine what your family is like the night before vacation. Everybody's running around, they're packing. Can you find something? There's a lot going on. And you're probably thinking, it's easier just to stay home. So I actually called the guest the night before. And I'll say, this is Rose. I'm wondering if you have any last minute questions before your arrival tomorrow. Just one last opportunity for them. And they can ask me questions about, what's the check in process. But usually, by the time my guests are at that point, they have all the information that they need. So I'm just there in that reassuring voice. Hey, I know you're coming tomorrow. Is there anything else I can do to help you? And so hitting that touch point of the night before is really important for that relationship building. I also think one of the most important things that we do is get people in the door easily. It sounds simple, but one of the things that I do as part of that conversation is I tell them exactly what's going to happen the next day. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to be inspecting the property before you arrive. And as soon as I'm done, you're going to get an email and a text with the door code. But if you need anything, this is my number. Give me a ring or shoot me a text. And so that, getting people in the door easily is one of the most fundamental things we do. So I actually talk the guest through that. And so those are all of the things that I'm doing before they even arrive in my home. I want to mother the mother. I want to mother the grandmother because they're looking out for everybody else. It's my job to look out for them so that they have that nice soft landing before they get to vacation. We know that first 15 to 30 minutes in the property is absolutely key to setting the expectations for the guests. And if I can really clear that runway for them for a soft landing, that's going to set them up for a great vacation.
Yes. And Rose, you're talking, a lot of people might be sitting here drinking from this fire hose going, oh my gosh, I thought I could just list this property and then people are just going to rent. I don't even have to touch anything and it's just going to happen automatically. And there's probably a lot of people going, well, I don't want all that responsibility. Now, people can go out and find a management company. People can, I'm
Absolutely.
sure that you're self-managing and you are the best at what you do because you are self-managing. But what about that person who's sitting there going, I want to go out, I want to find somebody who does these fundamentals that Rose is
Mhm.
talking about, but I don't want to do them myself. Is that an easy find?
Not always, to be honest with you. You may be looking for a co-host or something like that to help with those fundamentals. You can absolutely go to a management company, but management companies are going to be onboarding you to their brand and their style of hosting. Now, if that's compatible with what you want, absolutely. But here's the thing, I'm going to outcompete you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to outcompete you. And that's all right because this is part of our brand and this is one of the reasons that our brand has been successful. It's not this style of hosting. It's not for everybody, but that's okay because I'm focusing on a very specific niche. These
Mm-hmm.
kinds of things that I'm doing might not apply to you if you are welcoming travel nurses or people who are doing corporate travel. They might not need that high touch approach. They might find it off-putting. I got to be honest with you. I'm not going to stay with a host to have a new best friend. I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
And so I personally, I don't like a high touch approach, but my guests do. And so I'm doing what they like. And so it is our job as the host to understand our guests and what makes them tick. Doesn't have to be what makes us tick. It's what makes them tick. So you need to dig into your data on who your guests are. Where are they located? What are their interests? What social media pages are they following? And you need to tailor the experience to them. I'm tailoring the experience to my guests and my ideal guests. And so that's the work of hosting. You got to dig into that data, find it, and reach conclusions about your specific clientele.
Rose, you've been talking my love language for the last 30 minutes. It's been great. I mean, so many of these things resonate with me so deeply. It's a journey that's very similar to the one that I've been on, going down. And you and I think very much alike in this experience. And, in terms of thinking about who's actually your guest, who's your avatar, who's that person who's going to be staying with you. If you know who that is, you know exactly how to cater to that person, right? There's
Absolutely.
just so many beautiful things in there. I want people to be able to find you because I want them to be able to get more information from you, learn from you. Like we talked earlier, it's important that the first thing that we do when we're buying a new property or getting into the business is that we learn the ins and outs on how to be good. So where do people need to go to find you at, Rose?
Absolutely. So our management company, our brand is Your Family's Place. That's what it is online, yourfamiliesplace.com, and also on social media. So my personal page where I share my hosting content is Hosting in the Motherhood. It's Hosting in the Motherhood on socials and online, hostinginthemotherhood.com. I have a lot of blogs and resources up there. I also have a lot of information about how to build your social media profile for your company, including things like templates on different strategies to produce the content. You can also book a call with me, a discovery call on having us help you manage your social media. But also, if you're looking to pick my brain or you have questions for me, go ahead and schedule a call and I'd be glad to share my knowledge with you. So those are two places that folks can find me. I'm also part of the Hospitable Host community. We're 130 of the best hosts around the world. We are the group of groups, and we are in the trenches doing the real job of hosting guests around the world, not just in the United States. And so that's a great resource for education, a little bit of hosting humor, the real side of what it's like to host. So please give us a follow over at Hospitable Hosts.
Love it. Rose, tell me one last question. I like to end the
Mhm.
show this way. If you could give the audience maybe your one piece of best advice when it comes to short-term vacation rentals, what would that piece of advice be?
I would say try a lot of things and then look at the data and the consequences of you trying a lot of things. Pick the most successful 20% and do that over and over and over again. You got to start with a lot. And with time, with practice, with reps, you're going to find the 20% that brings you the 80% and do that over and over and over again.
Rose, thank you. Thank you for being on the show, and thanks for putting all this wisdom into the world.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Vacation Property Secrets Podcast. If you enjoyed the show, we'd really appreciate it if you could leave a rating and a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. By leaving a review, you not only support the show, but you also help others find and enjoy it just like you did. Also, please share this episode with somebody who could benefit from it. And if you're aiming to build a short-term vacation rental investment business that's based on strong investment fundamentals and not just emotion, I'd love to invite you to a free training that I'm hosting. It's my financial forecasting for maximum vacation home profitability training, an on-demand video course that's completely free. It walks you through the investment fundamentals to build and scale your short-term vacation rental business. You'll also learn how to estimate investment income and your operating expenses to build a projected pro forma operating statement and the potential NOI and return on investment for your property. Just go to vacationpropertysecrets.com to get access to your free training. We'll see you next week for another episode of the Vacation Property Secrets Podcast.